You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
Yeah, what's up with it? Do it cause I love it and I stuck with it. We ain't with the subbing in the cut with it. Please none of the talks, I heard enough of it. Like, what you gonna do? Where you at? Who you with? You ain't really about this, don't talk about it. Really on the move, on the map, never slip. Keep your hands to your lips, don't talk about it. Real eyes, real lives all the time. Stand on it, if we said it, we don't walk around it. Loose lips, ain't ships, red cup, blue strips, new phone, who this? No, we don't allow it. Really on go, I don't know what's an off day. Now we on road, came from smoking in the hallway. Now we got shows, boys feeling like Broadway. Always look both ways, even on a crossway. Driving down Cross Bay, out town Barclays. Really on big things, came up a small way. Championship rings, baby, that's a ball game. Oh, she want a little bag, baby, that's small change. Yeah, that money talk. If we ain't cool, then cut me off. No breaking news, don't run your mouth. Thought it was the plug, now he running off. Thought it was a plug, now he running off. What you gonna do? Where you at? Who you with? You ain't really about this, don't talk about it.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next big thing, the latest up-and-coming sports journalist, your host, Nathan Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony Handy, for that lovely introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all staying safe. This is episode 17, season 15 of Big Nate Sports Talk podcast. In this episode, we're getting ready for the second half of baseball. We're going to do the American League edition, as you've seen the title of this video. But before we get into that, there's a couple things I want to say up front. WNBA season, second half is about to start. It's about to start week 9. I have a video out for you as soon as possible. Still got the draft grades. Have that video out to you guys as soon as possible. We still will get the pregame, post-practice media availability, shoot-around media availabilities, for the Aces, Mystics, and Sun up as soon as possible. I don't have a end date just yet with season 15. Probably we're looking at somewhere around August, when we'll start season 16 of the podcast because we're getting ready for football. But please, I appreciate the support you've been giving me in this channel. I appreciate everyone's patience. We're just getting back into the swing of things now that we have a little bit more time right now that school for me is a wrap. But in this episode, we're focused on the American League, and it's been an interesting first half. There's a couple of things that have stood out, not surprised. I've actually stood by my predictions. Some teams have surprised me, some have not. I will say for the most part, out of right now the American League, the AL East has actually probably been the best I've seen compared to the AL West, where it's just Texas. We'll get into that. The AL Central is just right now. There's just 2 teams, and that's about it. And that's it's kind of a lot. It's kind of interesting to look at it. But we're actually going to start in the American League East. We're going to start with Tampa Bay. I just think that there's just no way you can beat them. I think they'll get. I think they're on pace. To me, I think they'll win about 100. I think they'll win 105 games. I read somewhere where they can get 126, 125. I don't see that. I'm not going to jump to that conclusion. They're going to get Shane McClanahan back from injury, back from the IR with his back. They lost Drew Rousman. The biggest thing for me is them just staying healthy. I mean, I don't think they can afford anybody in that starting rotation. Especially going to the second half. I still think Tampa most likely will make a trade. I think they do need another a quality starter. I mean, if you look at their starting lineup, at least at least 9 of them have on double figures when it comes to home runs. So I'm not surprised how they've been playing. Um, I still think for me, they're in a good position. They've hit the most home runs this year, 137. They've stolen the most stolen bases with 111. I mean, I just think for me, the biggest thing was June. They struggled compared to where they were in March and April. So uh, this is probably one that's still a well-respectable team. I picked this team to go to the World Series, but I think this next team could make some things shake. And the third team behind it, the Baltimore Orioles. I still think the Orioles need to make a trade in the starting rotation and bullpen. Couple things. Yenier, Cano, and Felix Bautista have been gems for that bullpen. But I'm concerned in terms of I'm looking at the schedule. They need to make a trade. While they look great, I just think when you look at them, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, they've been slightly above average. They need some pop in that lineup. I'm not saying go out there and get a star, but I mean, I've noticed when Adley Rutschman's not in the game and not in the starting lineup, it looks different. I was really hoping James McCann would have been a good addition, but I know he's been dealing with an injury. Gunnar Henderson's starting to pick it up. He is my pick to win AL Rookie of the Year. I just think this team's success, unfortunately, for the first about 2 weeks ago, they only had a 3-game losing streak, and that happened in May. And that was with Atlanta and Tampa, and they went 500. But to see where this team is, I think the Orioles are on pace to win 100 games. I think they can surprise Tampa. I think Baltimore is my sleeper to win it. Tampa is my pick to win the AL East, but Baltimore is my sleeper to sneak up and take it from them. I just think that when you have, as of now, the 6th best record, and you're 2 games out of first place, to me, that speaks on just what Mike Elias has done, because last year we can honestly say was fool's gold. I'm hoping that this is just a start. Now I'm going to watch, because the deadline's at the 31st. Now I'm looking to see if they're going to make a trade, because they need a start. They need a starting rotation. Guy in the starting rotation. Another extra bat wouldn't help. I like the acquisitions. I like Adam Frazier and Jorge Mateo, but they're not guys that you should be in your everyday starting lineup, in my personal opinion. Grace Rodriguez, I'm hoping will be back. I think he's going to start soon. I think he's going to be called up soon. I'm looking for him to have a good bounce back year coming after dealing with a small injury. Cedric Mullins, I know, is currently dealing with this day-to-day with an injury. Ryan Mountcastle just came off the IR. So I'm looking for this team to really make some noise in the second half. But I'm really hoping that there is a trade. They need it. Biggest need is another starter. They need they need a bullpen arm, and it wouldn't hurt to look for an extra bat. Toronto. For me, I can't. It's hard for me to get a true feel on them. They have a good starting pitching staff, other than Alek Manoah, who I think just has been disappointing. He's starting to pick it up. He definitely came into this season and not in baseball shape. And I hope his demotion. I hope it looked like the demotion to the minor leagues helped. I know Jordan Romano had suffered a slight injury during the All-Star game, so he's probably going to be day to day. He leads the American League with saves. I think it's at 26. I mean, other than your core and your batting lineup, Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who did well, in the home run derby. George Springer, Dalton for Charles, Matt Chapman, Denny Jansen. I mean, that's a solid core. But I still think that this is a team that I would expected more. And if you look at their AL East record, as of now, they're 7-20. And other than Bo Bichette and Matt Chapman, who I think I would make an argument are their two best players, and I think Kevin Gausman should be in the conversation for Cy Young, the Cy Young Award. They really haven't really exceeded. They haven't broke through. This is the same team we were kind of, if you remember that episode with Nick Rosario, they had to make some moves last year because they were almost like luxury tax. So I picked them. I think they're going to finish the season with 88, 89 wins. They'll finish third, in my opinion. I think they just got to get everybody back on track. I think the second half is going to be key for me watching this Blue Jays team. That team in New York right now is 49-42 going into the second half of the season. Domingo Germán had the 25th perfect game in Major League Baseball. Armando Galarraga, that counts as a perfect game. He was robbed. No disrespect to Jim Joyce, but that was the 25th perfect game that was thrown by Domingo. I don't know why we don't count that with Armando Galarraga. I just feel bad for him. If you know what I'm talking about, almost about 10 years ago, Armando Galarraga at the time was pitcher for the Detroit Tigers. They're playing the Cleveland Indians, having a great game. 27 up, 27 down to the last guy. I can't remember who it was. And it's a grounder. And Miguel Cabrera fields it, throws it to him. Jim Joyce says that he was safe, robbed him of a perfect game. And I remember Jim Leland and others after the game I remember watching that, and they're just going off on him. And Jim Joyce, in the aftermath, is in the locker room. He's upset, and they hash it out. But I'm disappointed that Major League Baseball does not count that as the 24th. But Domingo to me had the 25th perfect game. But I digress. Other than that, when I look at the Yankees in all seriousness, I do have to take into consideration the injuries. When you lose key players like Big Aaron Judge, Harrison Bader, Giancarlo Stanton, Josh Donaldson, combined out of the 354 games that core those guys have played, they've played a whopping 156.
Mm-hmm. I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
I mean, this is some bad stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how much more of this I can take. I just don't know. This is ridiculous. Oh, Lord.
And then on top of that, you signed. I like the acquisition of Carlos Rendon, but he hasn't even gotten on the field yet. He signed a 6-year deal, $162 million. Nestor Cortez just on the IR. Luis Severino had his season debut in May, and he's been struggling. I think he has an ERA over 7. To me, they've had more players on the IR than I would say any other team this year. And I still think I'm going to guarantee this, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but when these guys get back healthy, this Yankee team can definitely make some things happen. I think the New York Yankees will surprise the American League, and they'll get one of those final wild card spots.
Guaranteed.
I just feel like let's get everybody back healthy. I know Sunday they fired their hitting coach. I think his name was Dylan Lawson, and they brought in Sean Casey. So that's a first. Brian Cashman. I know it as long as I've been alive with watching baseball. Brian Cashman's never made a move like that in the middle of the season. So that's at first. But I still pick New York. I think they'll win 88 games. I think they'll surprise some teams when it comes to the wild card. And the Boston Red Sox. For me, I think they've, to me, in a this has been arguably the best division so far this year. It's been competitive. They're 15-11 to me against the AL East. However, interleague play, they've struggled. The Marlins, the Pirates, Cardinals swept them. And then, yes, they beat Arizona, Milwaukee, and Atlanta, but they're 11-18 against National League teams. Like, to me, the key is going to be how they play the Cubs, Mets, Braves, and Giants. And that's going to be the key. I think the interleague play is going to be key for them. I know they're going to bring it against Baltimore, Chicago White Sox, New York, Tampa. They're going to bring it. But interleague play, that's where they struggle. I still think Boston needs to make a trade. For the most part, I think they've done well. I think they're in a position where I don't think they need to sell any valuable assets. I think they just got to just find an extra bat or two and maybe another arm for that rotation in both. It wouldn't hurt. So let's move on to the AL Central. I'm very disappointed. My team to win, it's looking like it could go either way between these two teams. I'm going to start with Cleveland. They have been really interesting to watch. For me, Cleveland, I don't want to call it, but I got to take into consideration my Tristan McKenzie. He's had shoulder trouble. Aaron Savale, he's on the IR with an oblique injury after 2 starts. He's supposed to be returning sometime next week. I mean, when you look at the starting lineup, okay, how they're built, they're not built to struggle. Yes, they have speed and they have guys that can hit the ball, but when that can only take you so far, especially that offense, they're dead last in home runs and they're dead last in on base percentage. That's not going to win games to me. This is a team I thought would have taken that step and saying, this is what we need. Now, don't get me wrong. They have the pieces, but I'm a little concerned. I predict they're going to finish with 80 wins. I really do. I don't see. I'll say they'll win 500. I think they'll finish with 81 wins. I don't see them making. I don't see them making the playoffs because I just don't trust that lineup. Yes, I mean you got Miles Straw, Stephen Kwan, Jose Ramirez, and those guys, but they need some pop in that lineup, and they need maybe some lineup changes. But I'm very disappointed. I would have expected more. Now, Josh Naylor's brother, Bo Naylor, who debuted on the 18th. Yes, listen, he's a rookie. He will grow, and I think the future's bright. But it's the AL Central. Somebody, I would hope, going in the second half, this is a team that can pick it up because this was a team that started 10-9, and they have. I do see improvements, but I mean, you let a Minnesota team surpass you, and that's the next team. I think, but you know what? I'm going to guarantee it. The Minnesota Twins and the Cleveland Guardians will finish with the exact same record. Guaranteed. I can see both teams finishing 500. 81, 80 games to me. The Twins, they're another team. I'm disappointed with some guys. Now, Pablo Lopez, Joe Ryan, Sonny Gray, Bailey Obear, they've been that's a solid rotation. I think they that's a rotation I want. But offensively, as a pitcher, I would hope that I would have some type of run support. When I look at that, when I looked at the stats before I recorded this video, nobody is even batting 280. That's not what I would expected. If we're being honest, you can honestly say that's disappointing. Like right now, I think as I'm recording, they're 25th in batting average. I think they're almost batting like 230. I mean, yes, if the playoffs started today, they're in the playoff race. But I'm looking at some of the long-term investments. They just paid Carlos Correa. So I'm going to give them some grace. Maybe the second half they need it, but their offense, I'm disappointed, especially Byron Buxton. I would expect some more from that offense. So I'm going to see what they're going to do. I'm curious to watch what they're going to do at the trade deadline. I think they just need a bat, personally, in that lineup. But they just needs the starting rotation needs some run support. Detroit, for me, going into June, they were actually not doing too bad. They were actually almost 500. And then the injuries happened. Eduardo Rodriguez, Riley Green, and some other players. And since then, they've just been disappointed. I think they've like 2 weeks. I would say it was like 26 and 38, something like that, because they were 25 and 26. I still think when you look at the record, I mean, they've managed to play decently. I picked them. I think they'll win 70 games. For me, I don't know what to expect at the deadline. I do know this is going to be Miguel Cabrera's last year, so we should be expecting from him. Should be not expecting anything from him. Javi Baez, I know he's been picking it up. Eduardo Rodriguez, I'm hoping he will be back. I know he'll get it together. Because before he went down with this injury, I had him as a candidate for Cy Young, and then the injuries happened. So we'll see. And then there's the Chicago White Sox. Shout out to my guy Nick Rosario. I mean, they are 16 games below 500. The White Sox they're just not good. I mean, other than Luis Roberts and Jake Berger and Dylan Cease, that team is just it's bad. I see some trades happening, and it's not funny. Eloy Jimenez, I want to send my thoughts and prayers. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks because there's going to be an emergency appendectomy that he has to get. So I wish him for a safe and speedy recovery. I mean, other than that, they've, other than I'd say maybe Oakland and maybe a couple other teams, it's just not good. It's not good baseball to watch. And I do expect some guys move on. I saw somewhere where the Orioles could get Dylan Cease, and I wouldn't be opposed to that. Personally, I would not. And then lastly, this is unfortunately when you're a small market team, you're in rebuilding mode. Yes, they did trade the most valuable asset in Aroldis Chapman. You got a 17-year-old prospect and Cole Raggins. I mean, yeah, I think you got more. I think it's a win-win. I think it's a win for Kansas City. But I mean, when you're a small market team and you're rebuilding, you have to, say to yourself, okay, this is what we have to do. And yeah, I mean, Bobby Witt Jr., I think, is playing well. Vinny Pastakianto, he's been having a good year. It's just I that's really just been the bright spots. I mean, other than that, Salvador Perez, I know was kind of been out the lineup with injuries. There's really just not much to expect in Kansas City. I picked them actually, and I might take some flack for this. I picked them to win 50 games. I think next year the Kansas City Royals will have the number one overall pick.
Guaranteed.
But this is the point I want to make. When you're a small market team, and I think some people don't. I feel like some don't understand this. Let me say it like that. Your window to win a championship is 3 to 5 years. Like, this is where I look at the Orioles, for example. I don't consider the Orioles a small market. They're, to me, a medium size. Like, Kansas City, Minnesota, there's so many players that you can pay and keep. Because when you're a small market, you can't pay everybody. At some point, you're going to have to break the band up. And, yes, I would have hoped by now they're starting to put it together. I give like another year or two, let them get their pieces, let them get everybody in there, get it together, and they'll be fine. But this is a growing pains when you're a small market team. And I give them a lot of credit. I mean, they've got some good, decent pieces that they can definitely build around. But these are growing pains when you're a small market team and you're rebuilding. Before we get to the ALS, let's get to the sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk, and that is Zagnif Apparel. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to dress like you're already famous? You can and you will by checking out Zagnif Apparel.
The following is a presentation of Zagnif Productions, LLC. Introducing Zagnif Apparel. Our comfortable line of leisure wear and athletic wear will have you comfortable and stylish at any occasion. Whether you're at the gym, out shopping, or just relaxing at home. Whether you're an athlete or just want to lay around the house, we've got the perfect outfit for you. Stop by our website today and pick up your favorite pieces. Zagnif Apparel. Dress like you're already famous.
And you can most certainly do that with a nice 15% off using my code BIGNATE for 15% off on your final purchase. Ladies and gentlemen, you can and you will dress like you're famous. Thank you for Zagnif Apparel for being a sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. And we're back with the AL West, the Texas Rangers. I think have not surprised me at all. The moves that they made this past offseason, just to me have just been fantastically just immaculate baseball to watch. I think they're going to win the AL West. To me, their offense to me is probably the biggest thing that stands out. They, as of right now, as of before going in the second half, they have 531 runs scored. If I'm mentioning that stat correctly. I do think getting Aroldis Chapman to me was big, especially that's going to strengthen come postseason. He is that's a big pickup because that's pretty much when I looked at the whole picture. Even before the season started, their bullpen was kind of a little suspect, but I still see them making a trade, probably another extra bat or two, maybe more, maybe another arm where it actually hurt if you're Texas. But I actually predict that they'll win. I'm going to say 100. I'm going to say 101 games. I think Texas can surprise some teams. The defending world champs, the Houston Astros. It's just been weird watching them this year. They just been above average. And again, when you don't have Jose Altuve in the lineup, again, Yordan Alvarez, he's been on the IR. I just think, again, injuries and just inconsistency. The World Series MVP, I thought would have kind of had a good year, but it's just been what's the word? Subpar. That's the word I'll use for me. I still think that they're going to get when they get healthy. I think they're going to pick it up. Jose Urquidy, I don't think we'll be back in most likely until after the All-Star break, which makes sense. Luis Gonzalez is off. Gonzalez. Luis Garcia, he's out for the year. Lance McCullers Jr. and Michael Brantley, they should be making their season debut. So, I'm going to give it time. Let me see what Jose Abreu looks like in the second half of the season. But I don't know. Maybe I would have used that $58 million somewhere else because it's been disappointing to see. But I think let's see what they look like in the second half. It ain't the Queen Mary, but it. Oh, let me not use that. Scratch it off the record. It's not a perfect picture, but at least it's not bad to look at. I think let's see what we look like starting going in the second half. I think they'll pick it up. I do. I think that's my sleeper. But the way Texas is playing, I don't know. It's going to be hard for them to really get there. Seattle, for me, there's been some games where they've got to finish. They got to close games. I think I looked at this stat, and I actually couldn't believe that. Between, I want to say it was 2021 and last year, they were 25-12. And I believe as a whole, when they're in extra inning games, between close game, one-run games, if they're up one or down one, they're 67-41. If I'm mentioning that correctly. This year, they just it's been kind of off and on. They're actually, when it's a one-run game, they're 10-16 and they're 4-8 in extra inning games. And I think they actually lead the league, regardless National or American League, in losses like that. Their offense has just been disappointing to me. This is the same offense that surprised many last year. They're actually right there. They're above that. They're a better offense than Minnesota in the 24th. Um, I just think let's see what they do at the deadline. I think they can make a trade. Um, my guy, my sleeper. I still think he has a bright future in this league. Jared Clinic. I think for me, I think he'll have a solid second half. Julio Rodriguez, I know is a star. Teoscar Hernandez, Eugenio Suarez, Colton Wong, AJ Pollock. I'm going to give them the second half of the season. Let's see what they look like. Um, I do also, have to take consideration their biggest free agent acquisition, Robbie Ray. That really, I think, hurt them. And then also to Chris Flexen, he's just been mildly inconsistent. And I kind of come to the conclusion that's why Bryce Miller was called up. And he's been actually my sleeper also in the rookie of the year conversation. But let's see what they look like. And it's going in the second half of the season. I predict that they'll win 83 games. It's just my prediction. The Anaheim Angels. I'm not calling them Los Angeles. To me, they're the Anaheim Angels. I know for my old school baseball fans, the California Angels. But for me, because I'm a young buck, I always refer to them as Anaheim. I'm not calling them the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I'm not doing that. The Anaheim Angels. That guy, Shohei Ohtani, is an absolute cheat code. Whether that's MLB The Show or actually in real life, he's a cheat code. He will be your Triple Crown winner for this season.
Guaranteed.
However, does the future see Ohtani in Anaheim? I don't know. Yes, since 2015, as of right now, they're on track to have their first winning season and their first chance to go to the postseason since 2014. But if the playoffs ended today, no. Then take into account Mike Trout is on the IR. So probably sometime in August, early September, he'll be back. I mean, Brandon Dury on the IR, Logan O'Hop on the IR, Zach Neto, Gio Urshela. I mean, and they were on the starting lineup. Other than that, their offense has just been mediocre. Ohtani is in the final year of his contract, and I have seen reports that they're listening to offers. He prefers to stay out there. It wouldn't hurt. My only fear is you make sure you get what you can. I don't want, like, I use Manny Machado as a good example of this because he was traded a year late. You want to trade a year early than a year late. Get your prospects now. I'm hoping Mike Trout will be back because you don't want to trade him and you don't get anything in return. That's the fear. I wouldn't push the panic button. But I mean, you know what? I'm going to do it. The Anaheim Angels will give Shohei Ohtani a long-term deal.
Guaranteed.
I don't see them trading him. I think what's going to happen, there's probably going to be like 2 or 3 deals on the table. They're probably going to finish with a 500 record. More than likely, he's going to re-sign with them. I just see that. I can't see him in New York or any other big market team. I don't see that. I see him staying in Anaheim. I'm just going to say it like that. And Oakland. This is awful to watch. I feel bad for the city of Oakland. Golden State, they moved across the bridge. Then you lost the Raiders to move to Vegas, and now they're potentially going to move to. They're going to most likely go to Vegas. It's just a mess from the top up, from ownership, front office, players. It's just awful. I think the way this whole situation has been handled, trying to keep them in Oakland, has been messy. I blame. There's a lot of people to point the blame and hold accountable, and it's just been mess. Let me give you some couple things I want to get off my chest. Since coming into the month of July, before June, they were 12-50. And that team won 7 games, beating teams like Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, and Tampa, who had winning records. I still think, and I'm going to call it, they will surpass, I want to say it's the 1962 New York Mets. The Oakland Athletics will lose 125 games.
Guaranteed.
I'm sorry. That right now, there's nobody I can tell you, right? I can't even name 5 guys in that lineup. I can't. I can't even name guys in the rotation. It's bad. I mean, I just don't know what I can say. I don't see it. I don't see them winning 50 games. I mean, if you told me, if you could make a legitimate argument why they can't surpass that record, the way they're playing, I think they can. I do believe, and a lot of it, like I said, it starts with that owner, his name is John Fisher, because he definitely sabotaged this team. He did everything to alienate that for the fans, to get them out of Oakland. And to me, this is why, for me, calling out ownership and holding them accountable matters, because when you got people like this and only care about money and don't care about winning and other stuff, this is what you're going to see. It's bad enough. I saw it for for quite some time in Baltimore. I use the Orioles as an example because I watched for 14 years. I caught Cal Ripken at the end of his career, but post Cal Ripken, I watched this team for 14 years straight be mediocre, putting guys out there not there past their prime, guys that were decent starters, but they weren't franchise changers. It really wasn't until we got Nick Markakis, Adam Jones, and others, that's when the culture changed. Then also too, like, Dan Duquette did not really do a good job in terms of building on the success. It got stale. When I look at Oakland, I can't even, when I look at the lineup, I mean, the guys that they had, like Matt Olson mentioned, they're long gone. Who in this lineup to me can make a difference? Brent Booker, I mean, he had a good run. But I mean, other than that, I mean, when I look at this Oakland lineup, this team, nobody stands out. And it's not their fault. And I feel so bad for Mark Kotze. I really do. I think he was a decent pickup as a manager. I mean, and on top of that, they got to start against Minnesota coming off All-Star break. I mean, I really it's bad. It really is bad. I mean, I'm sticking with that. They're going to lose. I say 125 games. I see it. I don't even see them getting to even 40 wins. That's just my opinion. And I hope I'm wrong on that. But that's going to conclude this episode of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. Actually, no. I'm sorry. Let's get into the final thought of Big Nate Sports Talk.
Thoughts are running through my mind. Someone took some time to find a minute or two to organize.
The final thought for this episode is, let's give respect where respect is due. Let's give teams, players their flowers. It's interesting to. I don't consider myself I'm still a young learning in this journalism game. When we, to me, critique and criticize, when we critique players, let's make sure we're doing it from a perspective where we're helping them instead of getting personal. It's interesting to see that when we have conversations, and this is a general thing I want you guys to understand. We can disagree. That is okay. I don't know where we need to have the same like-minded thinking mentality came from. Because one thing I've noticed, this is kind of one of the reasons why I'm actually starting to take a step back and not being on social media as much. I need to be better. Is when we're having conversations, we get personal. And what just happened to just having a conversation and just agree to disagree and move on? Like, some people may not agree that I said the Oakland Athletics are going to lose 125 games. We can disagree. Some people may not like how I critique the Washington Mystics. We can disagree. That is okay. So I want you guys to understand, when we have conversations, we don't have to agree, because I think for me, that is, to me, dialogue to have. But when we start name calling and getting personal and all this other stuff, it takes away the main focus of the conversation. And also, too, and I'm going to talk about I don't say this, actually, I'm going to say that for another day. But I just wanted to be my final thought. So be tuned in for future episodes, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. I hope each and every one of you enjoy the rest of your weekend. All-Star weekend is over, painfully. Congratulations to the National League for winning. Congratulations. The American League is still a better league, in my personal opinion. But congratulations to them. This is their first win, I think, in 12 years, I want to say. So if I'm saying that correctly. So congratulations to the NL. But With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you on the flip side. Peace. Stay up.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the next big thing, the next up-and-coming sports journalist, Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
I want to thank you, yeah. I want to thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything